Hey, what's up guys, this is Liam or Weagle on your Overwatch, back with a new video. Today we're going to be covering how to take Hanamura first point, one of the most notorious points on the entire game for being a nightmare to get through. And even though it's a little bit easier nowadays, with Mei not being quite so good and Ana also not being quite so good at keeping everybody alive, it's still a pain for a lot of people to try and get through this choke point. So today we're going to be going over why people get stuck in this choke point, how to overcome it in a solo queue environment as well, because it's very, very annoying, and also the best ways to take it, because how to actually overcome this obstacle in a solo queue context is very different to the best ways to take it. I'll also show you some examples of the map and the best routes to take. Also, I will go through how to defend it as well, and that also ties in with why people get stuck at this choke as well. So the problem with Hanamura point 1 is team comp most of the time. It's having that coordination to instantly move in and take some space, do some damage, and get to the point. A lot of the time, people main a hero in solo queue, especially when these conflict. You can have a big problem in 2CP. When it's King of the Hill and it's more of a free-for-all, it's not so bad. But when it's 2CP and you require that coordination, you can have really bad problems. That's why Mei is so good here. There's this tiny little choke point. You can put a wall up in between the enemies, wall them off, and absolutely wreck them. Now, there is the other option of going through the window, but it's not as good of a flank as like going around the back of Volskaya, for example. It's very different in that way. So when people are playing their mains and you're stuck up this choke point, what should you do? Worst case scenario, no one wants to swap their hero. What should you do on this point? Now, I know this is particularly frustrating as a support main, because if you're playing Ana or Mercy or Zen in particular, I know a lot of people don't like Lucio. You're going to be stood there trying to heal and heal and heal and heal, but the problem is it's not going to have enough of an effect to go through the choke point most of the time. They're going to have the ground, they're going to be split up, they're going to have the damage coming through the chokes. It'll be very difficult for you to get through that by just simply out healing it. So I know that's very frustrating as a support player on this map. What you have to do and consider is having a Lucio in your game so that you can pull it out when you need to in these 2CP environments. Well, what happens, Weagle, when I do take Lucio and everyone stands there at the choke? This is where it gets very, very interesting, because you have to take a pick comp style. If your team is stood there trying to get picks at the choke, you have to commit to that. If they're not communicating, they don't want to dive, you have to commit to exactly what they're trying to do. And the best heroes for this are Bastion, especially if the enemy team have a Mei that's walling you off, because you can instantly take the wall down and it has no value, so you can go through it. Bastion's very, very good for that. But my two personal favorites are Widow and Hanzo. And I know that's not a popular choice, and I will go through how to go through it as a team and the best ways to take it in a minute. This is worst case scenario stuff. You can either go up on the middle ground on the back in the big window, or you can actually take the window on the left hand side to take a massive advantage and simply get picks. If that's what your team are doing, you have to dedicate to that exact thing. If there's no communication, they don't want to group up, they don't want to dive, that's what you have to do, unfortunately. That's the only way to win in that context. And I've had a lot of success doing it, but it does depend if you can play those two heroes. It's good to have one to be able to whack out when your team won't move, but I do not recommend picking Hanzo or Widow on default on this map that often, because it's not always great, and dive is the way forward. Now, if we go away from the worst case scenarios and you've got a team that do want to play together, whether you're in solo queue or with some buddies, what's the best ways to take this? Well, Pharah is always very, very good right now. She's very strong in the meta. If the enemy team are running a Sim and Torbjorn, she's particularly good at getting rid of turrets. What you want to be able to do, and I'm now going to show you guys some pro footage, is dive in and overwhelm the enemy team. You'll see that Lunatic High are running a dive comp. We've got Tracer, Winston, Diva, Genji, Lucio, and Zenyatta. One of my favorite comps to run. You can actually swap out the Diva for a Zarya if you like, if you're playing with your friends online. As I say, a Pharah is here. You could go Pharah Mercy instead of Zen. The Lucio is very important even with his current change, because it's good to be able to have that instant initiation. He's also good for following up on damage now as well. He can also pocket heal the tanks, which is very, very good. Pharah is a great pick here. You could take a soldier if you wanted to, but any form of dive's great, and Pharah is a great pick at the minute at all times. So what you actually have to do, and you'll see that Lunatic High do this very, very well, is they isolate a target. target. Now, what a lot of people are playing lately is Winston. More people are trying to get into him at least, and they really struggle sometimes with their initiation. So what you should be doing as Winston at this choke, and your Genji and everyone should follow you to isolate the target, is just kill like the soldier or the Ana or something in the back line. Get straight behind the tanks as quickly as you can and kill them. Now, sometimes in map guides, you'll see that people are saying you should go this way to the high ground all the time, or you should always go the right-hand room. Now, here's where there's a little bit of your own decision to make when you play it, because I can't always tell you. If you go to the choke and you're all going to dive in, and the soldier's on the left, on the high ground, on his own, in the I'm sick spot, as we like to call it, then you want to isolate that straight away, particularly in matchmaking, because he won't be able to defend himself. If your Winston just gets to the choke and dives up there straight away, and your Genji goes with him, you can take out that target very quickly. Trying to find that priority target is what you need to do at this choke. So if they're in the I'm sick spot, kill them. If they're actually up on the temple thing in the background that you can get up onto, leave them. Kill their team because they're too far away to do enough damage to you. So you find another target, you pounce it, and you kill it. And that's how you take this choke point in the best contexts. Now, you don't have to have a dive comp, but running a death ball is a little bit more difficult here. Let's assume they don't have a Mei, because if they do, that's when death ball can be a struggle. So what you want to be doing in a death ball context is pinning something with your Rhine. You probably want to have a Zarya to bubble it, and you follow up on that initiation as well. Lucio is a 100% must pick on 2CP, unfortunately. I think he does have a 100% pick rate on attack on 2CP. It's very, very close to it at the pro level. Now, at matchmaking, not so much. And that's where you have to weigh up that option I was talking about earlier of, do you have to pick because your team aren't going to get in there? Or do you actually have a decent team that want to initiate? The important thing to do is make sure you move. The worst thing you can do is go for that pick style, and sometimes you do have to take the Widow or the Hanzo to try and carry. But if your team are ready to go and they want to dive, that is so much easier. And having a Pharah up in the sky as you initiate is so much better in solo queue. And it's easier to run the dive comp as well, as long as the Winston doesn't jump in too early. The Winston dives in, there's a Pharah in the sky, there's a Genji around. It makes this map much, much easier. And as a support player, I promise you, if you've got the right team, Lucio is a pick that you have got to take here. It doesn't mean you can't win without him, but in terms of the best ways to do it, that's the best thing you want to be trying to do. In terms of defending this against a dive comp, which I know happens sometimes, well, that can be difficult. Mei and Symmetra are useless at this point if they're running a dive comp, because they're going to get rid of your turret, your wall's going to be ignored, they're going to dive over it, jump over it, all of the above. It's not going to be useful to you. In order to counter a dive comp, we've talked about it before. Things like McCree and Roadhog and skill shots are the only real way to do it. If they try and take the space from you, you have to concede it a little bit and rubber band back. So you and your team will back up and then reinitiate and fight again. Very, very difficult to coordinate in solo queue, which is why I know people struggle with dive comps a lot. It really does come down to the skill positions in order to counter it. Now, in terms of the actual geometry on the map, where should you go? What should you do? Well, I've already noted that if you want to play Hanzo Widow and you're at that horrible poke style, you want to be up in one of the two windows. That's the best place to go. You can do it from the floor sometimes, get the odd pick, but your best opportunity is from high ground. That's just simple. But what do you do when you actually go to the point? What if you don't see an initial person to dive or thing to do or places to see? Well, what happens if you're the main tank? Maybe you're not running dive. Maybe you're running right. If you're the main tank and you go through this choke, where do you go? Well, actually, there's not a perfect place. I would say definitely stay with your tank. If you're not the tank, is stay with wherever he goes. If you go into the right room to kill the Symmetra that's trying to spam stuff in there, that's great. That's a good pick. If their Reinhardt's out in the middle and is backed up a little bit, pinning him and killing him is also good. There's a lot of opinions in the community that there's always the best way to go about doing the same map. I think sometimes when people will see these videos, they expect us to say, you must go here and do this. Now, when I did the Numbani video, we explained that if you dive the top right to exploit it, that is nearly always good in matchmaking. And for this map, it's the same with the soldier in the I'm 6 spot. Dive him, kill him. Or if there's an Ana out on the point on her own, you can just dive past all the tanks, kill the Ana. By the time the enemy team turn around, she's already dead and you've pretty much won the fight because the main healer's there. So there's no dead set place to go on this map. any option's a good option. But getting that guy that's isolated on his own is the place to go. There is no specific route you have to take to achieve it. It's actually situational every time you play it. It doesn't matter how many examples I show you because they're all the same even if they're in different places. You find that target, you pounce it, and you kill it. And a lot of these videos and these guides are going to be similar in that way, especially for the 2 CP maps, because they can be very, very rough to take even on a good day. Let us know what you think, guys. Did this help you out? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to check out our Twitter, our Twitch, where we don't stream quite as much, but we do still stream there sometimes. Also, don't forget to check out our Discord, where you guys can find the Winston main of your dreams. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and have a great day as always. Take care and peace, people.